Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday Night Live podcast from the range with your host, John G. Johnson. Hi, guys. John The Firearms Instructor. I hope you're having a great day. I know I am, because it's Tuesday Night Live. I'm at the range, and I'm with you. So good evening. Well, sad news start out with. I'm going to be boo-hooing a little bit. For the next couple of weeks, we've got shit going on. We're not going to have one on Christmas Eve, and we're not going to have one on New Year's Eve. And this may be the last podcast of 2024. And I hope it's going to be a good one. I know it will be. You guys are here. I'm here. This is a great topic that we're talking about this evening. I wanted to give you a thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, being here for the whole year, watching these podcasts. I believe starting in January that we're going to be about 200 of these podcasts that we put down already. So we're pretty excited about that. They're getting better and better. We've done this live every Tuesday night for a long time. And we've come up with a lot of different topics. You'd think I'd get out of understanding topics and maybe run out of something, but there's always something we can come up with. And with you guys, this helps. You guys have made comments and things like before. Keep in mind, if you are going to make a comment this evening, we are live on Facebook. We are live on Instagram. We are live on YouTube. And we are live on Rumble. So if you have an opportunity to be on any of those, just tell us where you're from and what's up. We'd love to hear from you. Comments are always answered as quick as possible. If you haven't visited any of our social media accounts, please do so. Please like us, share, comment, subscribe. Anything you can do would help our channel grow. And we opened this a long time ago for entertainment purposes, motivation, and education. I hope I give that to you. Each week we come up with a topic that I think is important. I think we've got some stuff coming down the pipe. January's can't get here fast enough to clear out the swamp that's in the government right now. But keep in mind, we've got a lot of those people that are in our country that are going to be forced to go home. And they're not going to go home without taking something with them. So having a protection product for you and your family is probably important. Probably should start thinking about it a little bit more. People think because Trump won, they're not going to worry about anything. I think we got to worry more now than we did if Trump didn't. Well, if Trump didn't win, we were lost forever at that point in time. So someone intervened and made us get Trump. And I'm not going to say, I'm a religious man, but I think the big guy upstairs stepped in for a lot of different stuff, stepped in to miss that bullet, Trump's head, stepped in to help us get into this area we're in. If you're on the live podcast this evening and you're here, make sure you comment, let us know that you're here. If you are watching it after the fact, you can still comment and say where you're watching it from after the fact. We get a lot of people who can't get to this live, but they do rewatch it afterwards. We get a lot of our views from the replay than we do the live itself, but we always get somewhere between 65 and 75 views while the live is going on. So let's see if we can get that to 100, 150 tonight, because this is the last one of the evening, last one of the year, last one of 2024. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Happy New Year. I want to wish you love, safe, and security for 2025 and beyond. And that you are your first line defense, and make sure you realize that it's your job to defend yourself, not some cop or not some high patrol or agency of any kind. We've got a couple comments. We'll mention them real quick while we see them. I'm probably some people saying hello. Let's see what we got here. Ralph, welcome. Amen. Ralph, RYC forever. Okay. And exactly, John. Thank you very much. We appreciate you very much. You guys stay tuned. This is a great show. I don't know if you saw the topic. We talked about home defense plans. We talked about what you're going to do. I put together 10 bullet points for this podcast, and I put some firearms training drills that I think you need to try out at the house as well. Now, let me tell you what I did when my kids were little. I was never concerned about my children ever touching a firearm. They've been shooting pistols and shooting rifles, and we had BB guns, and we had all that stuff in our home. So I was never worried about that. I wasn't very putting guns in safes and things like that. But then again, my children knew a firearm wasn't a toy, and they weren't allowed to touch it unless a parent knew. Little different nowadays. You need to make sure you keep a gun out of the hands of children, blah, 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 and all that stuff like that. But realistically, we had plans at the house. Anything we win, anything we wear. I was always the security guy. I was always facing the door. The kids knew when we went to a restaurant, I never had my back to the door. I always knew the exits were. And I talked to the kids when they were younger. And if they heard any loud noise or explosions, firearms, or anything in the home, hey, Chris, how are you doing, buddy? Thank you very much. No, it's not Thursday yet, buddy. It's not Thursday yet. You can't pick your 1911 up yet. Yeah. But the concept more than anything else is if the oldest one got the littlest one and they went out the door and called 911, kept them out of any situation to be at the house. So you need to set up a plan for you and your family. I don't want you to get too technical on the scariness about the bad guy situation, but you got to keep them out and keep them aware of what's out there in the world today and what dangers can be. So we put together a home defense idea for you guys. Now you can make this your own. I just put this together thinking of the things I wanted or my program is set up for me. And each one of these is a little bit different. But we need to prepare. We need to have preparation. Number one is important for preparation. Understanding where the threat is going to access the property and owning a firearm and training and planning for a critical effect, a critical defense situation in your home. You really have to kind of put those things on paper and memorize them because, shooting a pistol in the range with earmuffs and eyewear on and all that stuff like that, you're not getting the noise you're going to get when you shoot a firearm in a closed environment. It's going to be a lot different for you. So the firearm is not going to help you if you haven't planned a plan that's going to get you to a safe direction. Let me tell you what your job really is to do. Your job is to fight yourself into a closed environment. You need to barricade yourself as best you can. Most of the time, why I wanted the kids to go to the neighbors and call 911, well, 911's being called. The bad guys don't know that, so they're there, and they're most likely to breaking into your home, ladies and gentlemen. They're not going to the third bedroom, getting up in the closet, getting that curio box of junk up there and trying to rob that. They're going to the master bedroom because that's where the things are that the bad guys want. That's where the guns are. That's where the gold is. That's where the jewelry is. And that's where the drugs are. Not to say you're druggy, but there are drugs in the counter that can be sold. And that's what they want. They want to take all that stuff. And by the way, you're in there. So they want to get to you. So you barricade yourself. Remember, in Florida, we have a little different law than other states. If someone's in your home and they're uninvited, not mother-in-law uninvited, but really uninvited, they are a threat to you. And you can verify that. They don't need to have a weapon. They are the weapon. And they're not in your home. You did not invite them. So it's an assumption they're there to harm, maim, and hurt you, and you can defend yourself from that. And that's the beauty of Florida. It's called Castle Doctrine. Look it up. It's a beautiful law. Florida has two of them. They have Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground. Castles more interior spaces of your docile, and then Stand Your Ground is more exterior of your home and all of Florida. So number one is to build an importance of preparation. Prepare it in the house. Get in the house understanding where you're going to be, what's going to happen, where the kids are going to be, make a plan for yourself and your loved ones. Number two, let's get that mindset going. Let's get that whole scenario going because remember, you need to stay calm in a stressful situation. A defensive mindset and practicing situational awareness is going to benefit you
in a critical defense situation in your home. If you are static, this is what drives me crazy, and I kind of it's a finger shaker at some people. They come buy a gun, they come do training, they buy the pistol, they come back for their training class, and I haven't seen them since. Now, what do you think their preparation is going to be in a situation where they have to use that firearm defensively? You know, proper grip and proper stance and proper trigger. Man, all that stuff goes out the window in a high stress situation. What did one of Mike Tyson or one of those boxers say? Everything's a plan until you get punched in the nose, and then you really know what you've got. So this is the kind of things we need to get our situational awareness going on. And know your home's layout. This is the advantage of that bad guys don't have. Even though Florida's houses are pretty much the same. I can tell you that most master bedrooms have a big area. They have a closet on one side of his closet. They have a closet on another side, which is her closet. And they have a bathroom or entry door going into a master bathroom that doesn't have any exit doors in the master bedroom. So you need to fight yourself to your bedroom and then to your master bath and lock that door. And that's going to help you prepare yourself and barricade yourself from the bad. Remember, the bad guy came in your home without your authorization. He's always a threat, but we don't know how many bad guys are out there. But the moment we put them in a situation where they have to come find us, we win that because we know our home better than the bad guy does. And he doesn't know where every crack, crevice, and hidden spot is. So familiar yourself with your area. Find those blind spots. This is one of those deals. I had a buddy of mine, and he had his whole house set up on cameras. But not only did he do that, he had his house set up with mirrors that he could see down hall. Apologize about that. There I am. I'm back. Everyone can hear me. Someone give me a. Oh, that's a good question, buddy. Should you wear earmuffs in your home in a defensive situation? Oh, boy. Ideally, yes, but chances are no. I mean, you're not going to do it in a high defense situation. If you are hard of hearing and you take your hearing aids out at night and you get electronic earmuffs, I would say you probably could do that, but you're going to put yourself in a position where it's another hurdle or jump you have to go through prior to grabbing anything. So you'd almost have to identify, be prepared, double prepared, triple prepared to get that in. I love the concept. I'm going to tell you, if you can, do it, but if you can't, but I would not recommend any kind of muffs that you could not hear, because you want to be able to hear the slightest footstep, the squeak of a tennis shoe, or anything else like that, especially if you're, uh, search and destroy situation in your home. You shouldn't be chasing a bad guy. You should be waiting him to chase you. Let him come to you. Don't go to him because you don't know what's there. But yes, earmuffs could be worn. Hey, Papa Weasel, welcome. Merry Christmas. Thank you for being here, buddy. That's a good question there, RYCH forever. I appreciate that. Thanks for the comments. I hope I answered them for you. In my opinion, probably I would not put muffs on, but I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can. That's up to you. So familiar yourself with your choke points, your blind spots, and areas of cover in your home. Do you know the difference between cover and concealment? Cover will stop a bullet. Concealment will hide you. So a wall basically would not stop a bullet, but if you're hiding behind the wall, you are concealed, but you're not covered. Does that make sense? And that's kind of what you do. So when you watch the movies and the guys jump behind the couch, let me give you some advice. Listen to me very carefully. A couch will not stop a bullet. So all those movies you see guys jumping behind couches and the bad guys shooting at the couch, most likely if you're behind that couch or behind the refrigerator or behind a drywall, you're going to be engaged. You're going to be hit by a bullet. It just, what they can't see is what they can't shoot at. That's the difference between cover and concealment. So what I was telling you, my buddy, he had his house. I don't know how he did it. I was kind of impressed with it. He had me come over one time for a barbecue or whatever it was. And I could be standing in his kitchen, look at a mirror that was in the living room, and get down the hallway because it was shining through other mirrors and it was the coolest thing ever. But he had his house set like that so he could be one place and be able to look. Now, most of the time, if you can, start talking to the children about keeping their door closed at night. And this is kind of one of those deals you got to work through. But the less likely a bad guy's going to open a door to walk down a hallway, they're just going to pass by it. And these are all questions they've asked bad guys and stuff like that. If the door is closed, they keep it closed. If a door is open, unless it's a master bedroom door, they're going to try to open the door. Now, as your kids get older, you can have them lock the doors in the event it's in your home and all that stuff like that. But keep in mind, locks are for good people, not for bad people. If they want to get in, they're going to get in. But you putting some kind of stopping motion from them entering without you being unprepared or unaware, that's the key thing, right? A door opened, the bad guy can walk right in and you won't even hear him if you don't have an alarm system of some kind. So understand when clearing a room and when to barricade your family for maximum safety. And clearing a room is one of those things that I'm going to do a video on to kind of show you. But we use the walls as much as possible and we pie our section. So if I'm standing at the doorway and I kind of look through the door, I'm busting that room up into quadrants as I step out into the doorway. I just don't want to walk in the room without knowing if there's a bad guy in there or not. So when you pie in the room, you only need to step a little bit, you see a little bit more, and a little bit, you see a little bit more, and a little bit, you see a little bit more, and you're using the wall as concealment until you realize there's nothing in there. Another thing in home use is using some kind of flashlight for to see. I'm sort of one of those things is trying to figure out what's the best lighting system to put on a handgun. Now, putting a flashlight on a handgun, rifle, or shotgun, it has its place, it has its position, it has its thing, but I don't think I want to be pointing a firearm at a cop that I don't know is a cop. He's not going to be happy. So we want to try to use some kind of handheld flashlight. I'm not much on the gun flashlights because if we're pointing a gun at a person or somebody that we know or don't know that's a threat, I would recommend some kind of held button push flashlight. So when you push it back, because we want to manipulate this flashlight on and off. Flashlights are great and wonderful, but you know last time someone flipped the light on in your bedroom when you were sleeping, how dilated was your eyes? Well, this is going to happen to us as well as the bad guys. You use a strobe or anything else like that. You've got to get used to it. You've got to understand how to manipulate it, operate it. Handheld units, the FBI does a lot of flashlight in this hand, flashlight in this hand, firearm in this hand. They do the FBI, the flashlight goes up by the head, and they use the firearm. And these are all, some are using one hand to shoot the firearm. We want, there's this magical thing in every room in every house. And I don't understand TV at all, but it's called a light switch. And when you go to switch it on, it turns the lights on, and it gives you advantage, and it takes away a disadvantage for the bad people, because the bad people themselves want to hide. And if they're hiding in a room with a flashlight, you got to find every little crack and corner and every crevice that could be. Compared to if you turn the lights on, basically you're going to see everything you can, and the bad guy loses his advantage, and you gain advantage at that point in time. So handheld flashlights, working on some kind of mount light system, identifying the threat without exposing yourself. Now, flipping on the lights, you're going to expose yourself and them too. But keep in mind, you know your house better than the bad guy does. So he doesn't know exactly where he is. Even though all the houses are about the same, they are a little different, and furniture's a little different. So you could walk from your bedroom to all the way to the third bedroom and not hit a couch, not hit anything. Now, if you get kids, you might be stepping on some Legos and shit like that the kids don't clean up. But you're going to know the walk area, the area to work on, and everything else like that. Communicate a plan with your family. This is important. Get them involved. Get a plan. Now, every time I've ever went to any kind of, many years ago, Jacob, Heidi, myself, and Johnny were at SeaWorld. And we came out of one of the shows, and Mr. Jacob decided to go down one side, and we went down the other, and we got to the end, and we didn't have Jacob. And we were panicking. This is a big group. There's a lot of people. And I've been preaching these kids forever and ever and a day. If you get lost, go get help. Go get something. So within, Heidi's panicking. I'm panicking. Johnny's like, well, it's Jacob. I will find him sooner or later. He didn't really care. But we were panicking because it's a big area. And I come out of one of those places. I went to the closest store, and there he was. He was sitting there next to the lady. And the lady had to give him a little toy to play with while he was missing for 8 minutes or so. But that's stuff that we set out for in case it ever happens. So we go to Bucks game, or we go to movies, or we go anything else like that. We always say, if something happens, this right here is where we're meeting. Right here is where we're meeting. And we always point out, and that's what we always done. So get planned together. Have the plan set for you. So it's part of our routine, and you can actually play with them a little bit and kind of give them the idea list and make it more family oriented without making it so scary to think about a bad guy being in a situation. Develop a plan, practice the home defense, plan with your family, including safe zones and emergency signals. Emergency signals. What's emergency signal? Not a firearm going off in your home. Maybe a whistle. Maybe a text. Maybe a text on their phone. The kids are young nowadays, but they all have phones. If daddy puts a special word. My mother was perfect at this. Her middle name was Maud. And we weren't allowed to use Janie Maud for anything, because Janie Maud was her middle name and Kraft was her last name. But Maud was a mule. And she was named after a mule. My mother told all of us at a very young age, if we ever got kidnapped and we need ransom money. Now, think about this. Now, this is when I'm being a kid, thinking, who's gonna kidnap me and ask me for ransom? Us poor ass people that got no money to begin with. But my mother said, you tell them, ask for Janie Maud, and I'll know it's a plan. I know it's you, basically. So take this 20 years ago. My nephew was in Germany making a plan, and he called her to ask her to send him some money, Western Union some money to him, because he had been partying over there and needed some cash. And about 3 days later, I'm at Mom's house, and I said, well, what's going on? What's happening today? Well, some prankster called the other day, and I go, what happened? She goes, well, your nephew Craig, someone said he was in Germany and needed money, but he didn't need the code. He didn't know the code. So I told him I wasn't going to wire him any money. And I said, Mama, you've already, I didn't remember the code until she, so I'm thinking my poor nephew is in Germany with no money. I called my brother. I said, did you send your son some money? He goes, yeah, I sent my son some money. And I said, you know the story about that, right? He tried to get grandma to send him money, and grandma wouldn't send him a dime because he didn't know Janie Ma. And he goes, what? Yes. I said, you don't remember Mom telling us we ever got, kidnapped, that we could that we need to give him the code? He goes, no, I don't remember that. I said, yeah, well, Craig called. He didn't know to call her Janie, asked for Janie Ma. She said, I'll send you the money. Just give me the secret code. And Craig goes, I don't know the secret code, Grandma. So she goes, I'm sorry. And she hung up on his ass. And I'm sure the kid was like devastated to have to call his parents because he ran out of money. He'd been drinking and all that stuff in Germany, but that's part of the deal. So get a plan for your family, guys. Johnsons were crazy. I'll tell you that. There was a lot of craziness going on in our life. My mother was just, it's close to being nutso. But I loved her very much. She was a beautiful woman. Get the family involved. Let's get through dry fire scenarios. Now, listen, if your wife and your kids aren't comfortable with firearms, don't be doing this at home when the kids are home. You got to get them comfortable first. But you need to set up some dry rehearsals, scenarios, like intruders, entry points, work on the corners, the edges, things like that. Train for the tools, use the flashlight in low light conditions, work these realization and safety mode techniques. Just the idea of if I'm fighting the bad guy, who's calling 911? We don't wait to call 911 until after the fight. We call the 911 when we think there's going to be one. And that gives us time. Remember, the average response time in Lee County is 14 minutes. So we need to make sure that we're able to get through that. RYCH, I would recommend any kind of laser training systems for dry fire if it's giving you a little point out there that shows how much flipping of the trigger you're doing. Anything that will help you become more proficient with a trigger engagement is good. A lot of those laser, they're kind of expensive. You don't need them, but if you want them, they work pretty well. Those dry fire scenarios or scenario drills are going to be worth their weight in gold, especially in a situation where we're getting into muscle memory. Remember, in a high stress situation, I've told you this many times before, but in a high stress situation, your body instinctively is going to shut off anything it deems unnecessary to get you through this situation. And with a big adrenaline dump like that in the middle of the night with the bad guys banging on the front door, you're definitely going to have an adrenaline dump of some kind, and it's definitely going to cause you a lot more internal stress. And that internal stress stuff causes us to internally panic a little bit. Now, number 8 is a firearm selection for the home and home defense. Evaluate the pros and cons of a shotgun, a pistol, a rifle for close quarter defense. Now, in my opinion, a weapon is better than no weapons. So don't let me tell you something here now that is not going to work. There's plenty of homes being protected by shotguns that people have never shot. I will tell you that a shotgun is an aggressive, hard-kicking weapon. And if you've got a 16-year-old kid or 11-year-old home alone, probably the shotgun's not going to be the choice for him because he hasn't shot an awful lot. But in the realm of situations, people get too carried away to the shotgun. All they have to do is rack the slide, and it's going to scare the bad guy away. And that's not what's going to happen, because the shittiest insulated home in the world, if you rack it on the inside, I'm not going to hear it on the outside. And if I rack a shotgun and let's say you do cruiser ready, which means the shotgun is not loaded. When you pick it up, you put a round in the chamber. If the bad guy didn't hear it, the only way for you to rack it again is to rack it and put a round on the floor. Because at that point in time, if you're counting on the racking of the shotgun to scare the bad guy away, well, if he doesn't hear it, how can it scare him? So shotguns are great and wonderful. Buckshot is aggressive. Slugs are aggressive. 18-inch pump shotgun, probably your best choice. But I will tell you, a pump shotgun with a 5 to 8 rounds, you can get extensions on those. I would tell you need to spend enough time shooting the shotgun to pattern it properly to know what it's going to do. I am a believer in using birdshot for home defense over buckshot or slugs, only because of recoil management. And keep in mind, if you think about a home, we're not shooting over 40 feet at a bad guy with a shotgun. So imagine if I shoot birdshot at 40 feet, it probably is only in regards about that big, but you've got all the weight of the lead and the plastic wad while still doing its damage. I did a pattern video at the old outdoor range, and we patterned a shotgun from 5 feet all the way to 40 feet with putting in birdshot, putting in buckshot. That buckshot's 32 caliber, 9 pellets. We put in slugs, obviously, and then we put in a number 1 BB. And the one that physically did the most practical damage to the plywood and the 3/4 inch MSD, and we put the T-shirt on, was the birdshot. The birdshot stayed together. It was tight, and the wad itself, the plastic wad of the buckshot and the birdshots, the plastic wad broke the 3/4 inch piece of plywood on top of all the pellets going in. The buckshot had a group about yay big, but there was 3 that were flying down below. The slug obviously was a little tiny hole with the wad underneath it, but the birdshot stayed together the longest. And I know that people are going to poo-poo on using that for defensive purposes, but if you're thinking about short distances, half your bedroom or worse, you're going to get what you need. And what we're thinking more than anything is the collateral damage that's going to come from shooting one of these weapons in your home. The buckshot's going to go through drywall pretty hard, pretty heavy. Slugs definitely do. Birdshot's going to break up a little bit faster. It's not going to travel so deep into drywall. The drywall will stop it as much as possible. Keep in mind, our job is to stop the bad guy. It's not to do any kind of mortal damage. We're just to stop them. But ideally, birdshot will do what you need it to do, and you're not going to get the recoil manage. If you're asking a 65-year-old woman to use a shotgun for defensive purposes, and not saying a 65-year-old woman couldn't shoot a shotgun, they surely can, but in a high-stress situation, and the long pulls on those things. Long pull means it goes to your shoulder, and you've got a racket. Some of the shotguns, I have a problem. I have short arms, and trying to get that rack back, it becomes challenging. So I would say if I was going to pick the proper home defense package for you, you like that word package, gentlemen and ladies? Portfolio. It's a great word, portfolio. Gun business portfolio is a good word for us. I would do home. If I was grabbing, if shit was hitting the fan right now, I'd grab the highest capacity magazine pistol I had. Smith & Wesson Equalizer, 15 rounds. Glock 19, 15 rounds. Glock 17, 17 rounds. Some of the FN products have 20 rounds. Some of the Glock bigger pistols have 20 rounds. I mean, those are great. Glock makes a 33 round stick. I mean, these are all good products because what we can do with a handgun, which you can't do with a shotgun, is transition right or left. I can just lean with the handgun right or left and be okay. If I need to take the shotgun and go down a wall that's on my left hand side, then I just go down the left-hand side with it. But if I go down the right-hand side, I have to transition the gun to my right side to use the wall as leverage or cover. And as I'm using it for concealment, not cover, because it's drywall, it's not going to stop a bullet. But I need to transition right or left. Now, most people say, what about the AR? What about the AR? What about the AR? AR's a high velocity bullet traveling in a home. AK-47, same thing. It's got a lot of velocity. If you shoot a shotgun in your home without earmuffs on, it's gonna be aggressive. If you shoot a pistol inside your home, keep in mind the pistol round is traveling about 1,450 feet per second. That's pretty hot stuff there. They get from 12 to 14 to 16, right? You shoot an AR-15, they're 28, 16-inch barrel, probably 28 to 3,200 feet per second. That's like putting off a flashbang inside your home, and it's putting out a flame out in front of it. So I will tell you, the shotgun and the AR are for perimeter work, and those two products are to get you to a high defense weapon, a high defense pistol. High round count pistol. And that's going to be better than anything else because I can transition right or left with a pistol. Can't do that with a rifle. Hard to do that with a shotgun and rack it and do everything else like that. So, but you do you, boo. What you want to use a shotgun? Use a shotgun. You want to use a home defense, an AR for home defense? Do it. Do you. I'm going to tell you that round traveling as fast as it can. We need to be very careful of collateral damage with shotguns and collateral damage with ARs, and especially AK-47s or any kind of high velocity rifle because they are traveling awful fast. All right. So of number 9 is avoiding common mistakes. Example, including poor firearm accessibility. Question always I get with new students, and I think this is funny, but I see where people are coming from. Keep in mind, the firearms are not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone who moves to Florida from these other communist states, excuse me for saying that. Remember, these places don't want you to have a firearm. They don't think you need a firearm. But, example is locking a firearm up and trying to unlock it when you need it. People always ask, do I load it at home or do I wait to load it until I need it? And I go, when do you think you're going to need it? She goes, I don't know. I said, well, do you think you're going to have time to load it when you need it? And I'll make some kind of joke about, did you get up this morning, put tires on the car to come to town? And they look at me like, well, that's a stupid question. And I go, well, think about what you're asking me. Am I supposed to have this gun loaded to save my life? How many cops you think are running around town Barney Fife? I'm aging myself there with Barney Fife. Remember, Barney Fife had one bullet, right? Andy Griffin show. Barney was allowed to have a pistol. Wasn't loaded, but the bullet he had was in his pocket. And he wasn't allowed to put that in a gun until he absolutely positively was told to or knew that he needed it because it was part of the deal. Because I think Barney had a couple accidental discharges when he was a deputy for Andy, and Andy banned him from carrying a pistol in Mayberry. So I thought that was funny. All right, today I had one lady says, is this gun, am I supposed to keep this loaded? And I go, yeah, fire extinguisher in your RV. She travels. And I say, yeah. There's the stuff that's in the fire extinguisher on the counter, and you got to put that stuff in the fire extinguisher, put the fire out. And she looked, no. I said, well, there we go. There's your answer. Gun has to be loaded to save your life. Poor lack of access, familiarity of your home layout, reliance on technology alone. This is a good one here, right? How many of us think the alarm is going to save our life? It's going to give us the plans or the challenges or the techniques that we need, and the cops will be here as fast as they can, right? Well, the problem is why we have a firearm at home, why we have all these plans, because the cop's too heavy to carry. Unless you have a cop and you're sleeping with you, it's not enough time. 911 is very cool and neat until they're overstaffed, and then they have to put you on hold while they're answering other calls. Is that who you want? Is that what you need, or you need to protect yourself? Thinking about a cop protecting you, you know what their job's to do is to write the report and draw the chalk line and make sure that chalk line ain't yours, ladies and gentlemen. Number 10 is you're going to build confidence through training. You're going to put yourself a package. I didn't build you a package today. I gave you ideas to put your package together, because you need to have some kind of plan in case shit hits the fan, that you got your system down. And then we're going to recruit these things and go to the range and spend time working on some fundamentals that'll give us time to figure out transitioning and things like that. So ideally, regular practice builds muscle memory, reduces hesitation in a high stress situation. So let me give you a couple of drills that I think would help us out tremendously. Working on that entry of the room. And I think I'm going to do a full video on this, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea. If I'm walking into a bedroom, I'm not going to walk directly into the front door. If the door swings open into the bedroom, I'm going to visually clear from the hinge side to the top front of the door, right? I'm going to look through the hinge all the way to the side of the door. Most likely, I realize the bad guy would not be in there. And then as I peek around the corner, I'm going to visualize more part of the room. I'm going to go from corner all the way to about half. And then I'm going to step back and step forward and lean in to try to get that far corner over there. Now, if I got that far corner, let's say there's a bed there, right? I can visually use my flashlight to look over that bed to make sure there's no shadows, bumps, or things in there. And then as I walk that edge, I haven't stepped in the room yet, I'm almost at 3/4 of the room before I even worry about stepping. Now, when I walk into the room and work on, I'm going to go to the far side of the door, and I'm going to peek through real quick to look in that corner right over there, because that corner is my hidden corner. And then I'm going to clear that room. And if you do that multiple times, you'll find that it's going to be easier for you to clear rooms in that situation than just walking directly in the room and being blind to who's here and who's not here, because we could be losing something from this far corner with them staying in there. And don't forget, when you're checking or clearing a room, although the bed is not very high off the ground, they could be underneath the bed. They could be in the closets. They could be a lot of stuff. But we're visually looking for the overall areas. So practice movement with a firearm manipulation. Identify a threat. You can throw a stuffed toy in the room. Have one of your wife or your kids do it and let them go in and clear the room as well. You can get them a little airsoft. You can get them. You can use this to get them to understand why we're clearing the room. We're looking for that threat. We're trying to keep our family safe. Use inert training firearms, and that's what it's obviously. You don't ever use a loaded firearm doing these trainings, especially in your home. Move room to room in your home, practicing muzzle discipline and slice pie. That's what we're doing there to clear the corners. And this is fun. This is unique because you can put something in one of these rooms, take one of the pink stuffed animals, throw it in a room, and then let the person go find it. And it works on you. You got to watch overall what you're doing with it. ROIC forever. This is where a laser would come in handy for you, because it's going to show what you're doing with that muzzle as you're walking through the room. It's going to be turned on, and you're going to see how much swiping you're doing with it, where that muzzle needs to be laid down on the ground so it's not really hitting any walls. And then as you get the weapon out, then you can, clear the room in a timely manner. Flashlights need to be turned on and off. Now, keep in mind, when you turn a flashlight on against a white wall, you're going to be flashed by that flashlight, and it's going to cause your eyes to be a little flushed as well. So identifying these little areas like this would help us out tremendously. So that's number one. Clearing a room with a firearm would be kind of a cool little drill. At the range, you can work on target transition drills. This is moving right and left. This is moving up and down using your waist. You can set up multiple targets at different distances. Now, it's hard to do that at the range, but you can work on different size targets. Take a 3x5 card. You can take a 3x5 card and put it up horizontally, and a 3x card and put it up horizontally. You can transition between each one. If you're working with a buddy or a pal or a wife, we can mark those A, B, and C, and you can work off transitioning right or left and up and down on those. Keep in mind, when we transition, there's a video on our website, on our YouTube channel about transitioning. We're transitioning up, down, right, and left by using our waist, not our wrist. Every time you use your wrist to aim a gun, you're putting the gun at some weird angle. It's causing a lot more of the inaccuracy or lower shots. Set up multiple targets and variable distances. Now, if you did that outdoor range, you'd 3, 5, and 7 be awesome. Practice transition between them while quickly maintaining accuracy, and move it to simulate navigating through your home. Now you can move up and down, forward and backwards. If you have the ability to have an outdoor range, this is where you could transition from the rifle to the pistol. Now keep in mind, if we're keeping a rifle for defensive purposes, it most likely, a lot of people carry shotguns in the main part of the house, and the shotgun is to get you to your rifle. The United States military uses a lot of pistols to get the guys to their rifles, where we do the opposite. We use our rifles or shotguns to get us to our defensive pistol, because it's going to give us more rounds, obviously, and more ability to transition right or left with it. You can work on low light engagement drills. This could be done in the home with no ammo by flashing the light on and off and kind of doing the pie work and all that stuff like that. And this is to identify and engage a threat in low light conditions. You can use a handheld or weapon mount light. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying anything wrong with a weapon light pistol. I just don't like the concept of using my pistol as a flashlight when I haven't identified who it is in my home. If some reason or another your front door was left open and the deputy was inside your home and you flashlighted him, although you did not invite him in and you flashlighted him, his ability to realize that you're making a serious mistake by flashlighting him with a firearm, he may engage you, and it puts you in a situation. So flashlights, 1 is none, 2 is better. So having a handheld flashlight, button push, is probably going to be a lot better for identifying. Where the handgun is great and wonderful, but it's hard to manipulate or turn that on and off unless you find the right product, and you spend a lot more money for it. So a handheld FBI or cross hand like this, the flashlight's here, or you can do the up by your head situation. We did flashlight drills here before, and we did a whole class on it. It was pretty awesome and neat. But there was a lot of stuff we learned that night, that when you turn a flashlight on a white wall, you are blinded very quickly. So, and any kind of strobe light like that, you think that strobe's going to affect the bad guy. Well, guess what? It affects you as well. So those are things. If you're going to get a flashlight or any kind of light system on there, make sure you have an on and off switch that's going to be able to be manipulated very easily. Train to use cover effectively. Now, this is kind of important when we do one of our tactical classes. We always do the transitioning right or left on a target, and then we add transition cover, or it's called a tactical reload, where you step out, shoot a round, shoot bullets until the weapon is at a certain point. You get behind cover, you pull that magazine, put that magazine, stow that mag, put a new mag in, fight through that mag. That mag goes to slide lock, dump that magazine, bring out the other one you had in your hand, put it back in, rack it, and go back into the fight. Setting up barricade drills are very important because there's a position you need to be. You can't be up and on the barricade. One, for refraction of any kind of flash of the gun, or if the bullet hit the target at all or hit the barricade, you're going to get impacted by it as well. But you want to give yourself a little bit of angle work. So if you step like a foot away, I usually tell the guys here that are doing it, we want the gun out and an extension of our arms and the muzzle of the gun barely touching the barricade. So when you lean, you can lean back and forth and be able to cover, probably standing in the center of the target into the barricade, you can cover both sides. And you lean out, take the shot, and you lean out the opposite way and take the shot. And it kind of gives you that ability. So set up barricades, whether it be a table, a wall, or any kind of thing like that. Practice shooting from different positions, standing, kneeling, while minimizing your exposure. Remember, our job is to engage. Our job is not to get engaged. And every time we show ourselves or put a position out there or put something out there that could be hit, we're putting ourselves at risk, if that makes sense. So barricade drills are really good. Not easy to do in an indoor range unless you're taking a tactical class. You have your own range in your backyard. You can set all this stuff up pretty easy. But keep in mind, barricade drills and things like that can easily be done inside your home as well. Make sure all the ammo on the gun is out. Make sure you like tri-fire or anything else. Like, can't put anything in the room that's going to have an ammo or bullet in it. And you can barricade back and forth and dry fire. No problem. Or what RYC Forever says, use one of those laser trainers and it'll help you as well. So, I mean, there are a lot of different stuff you can do. Close range retention. This is one of those things where we talk about a lot of times people think they're going to go be full extension in every gunfight they do, and you never, ever are. Watch plenty of videos on YouTube, and you'll see these guys are shooting from their belly. They're shooting from short distances. They're shooting one-handed. There's a lot of different stuff that you can practice. But shooting, you're starting getting into some point shooting, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of stuff involved. But close range retention drills will help you understand that the simulation of a bad guy being so close to you that you may not have time to get the full extension. So we always, when we do these drills, we come out of our holster, turn the gun sideways. That's our first shot. That's going to be just a point and shoot. Our second shot's going to be mid-drift, which the gun's going to be short distance, target base is short distance. And then the long one, the last one is full extension. Those three drills there are going to be very ideally practiced because you may not have the opportunity to get the full extension. And it helps you out tremendously. Practice firearm from retention, keeping your firearm close to your body. If you haven't done that before, it's a little different. It's a little bit more. If you need to cant that weapon just a little bit to help her fight the recoil management. If you're simulating this, you can always use dummy rounds as well. And you want to make sure, if you are doing any kind of simulation inside your home, that your range bag, every bit of ammo, everything else like that is a total different part of the house. And you need to check it, double check it, triple check it before you even start pulling any triggers or anything else like that. And verify that the gun is completely safe before you do any kind of training inside your home. But there are airsoft guns can be done. That there's a lot of cementitious stuff that are done. They do a lot of training classes. They use these rubber bullets all the time. I would recommend that you don't do any of that stuff unless you're qualified for it. All right, but there are airsofts that are used on a regular basis. From I don't know, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, I had a small little office before I got this gun range, and we did a lot of blowback airsoft stuff to get people understanding transitioning and things like that. And then we took them out to the range and helped them tremendously work on their, accuracy with the firearm, with the cementitious, with the airsoft stuff. It was pretty fun. Nothing beats actually shooting a pistol, though, guys. So all that little stuff, the laser buttons and all that stuff are great and wonderful. There are training tools, but none of them have recoil like a firearm does, and recoil affects the manipulation of a firearm. Number 6 is family coordination drills. This ensures you know their role in the home invasion. Now, we want to be careful with this. We don't want to scare the kids, but you're going to be assigned responsibilities. Who's going to call 911? Who's going to go get the other one and do the safe room? Who's going to practice moving your designated safe spots quickly and safety? Who's going to give the command, get down, stay in the room? This is what aggravates my wife when we watch these movies all the time. There's always that one woman that questions everything. Just shut up and do it. You're going to get killed if you're not. You know what I mean? There's always the aggravated person in the movies that doesn't listen. And if you have these plans set up already, there should be no questions to ask about them. And you can make it fun, guys. You can get a drill, you can get a whistle, you can get a lot of different stuff. You could just make a command. You can put them on the phones. There's a lot of stuff you can do. And then you need to train your body for situational awareness and reaction time. This is something that you got to spend enough time doing, but there's a lot of cool drills you can do in the range that are called command drills. And it's just, I just mentioned it before. We could take 3 paper plates, mark them 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could do 1, 2, and then do Roman numeral this and Roman numeral that. And then you're just going to call out. So now you're having to transition and hit the target that physically is called out on that target. And it helps out, and it helps you identify a threat, non-threat mode. Because if I say, this is a cool one we do once in a while. We'll do a blue circle, blue 1, blue 2, red 1, red 2, and then we'll do red, yellow, green, and blue. And then we're going to tell the person before we start that 2 of those are non-threats. And we'll say red and blue. And then we'll start going red, blue, red, green, red this. And then all of a sudden now they're starting to shoot different stuff. And then you realize, you hit that person. You hit this thing. You did that because you didn't hear red 1. You just heard red. And it just becomes more. So putting these little identification things and helping your reaction time. Using target systems with threats and non-threat images is good. Have your partner call out which target to engage to simulate unexpected movement. We've done it here at the store where we've taken the target out to the full back wall. Now, if you have a range, you have to check with the officer to see if he'll allow you to do this. But there's someone on the switch and someone on the call. And what's going to happen is we're going to bring that target to you, and you're only allowed to shoot the 3 shots. And we mostly do Mozambiques, which is 2 of the body, 1 in the head. And then we call out when the person can shoot. And this is kind of fun because it brings up your heart rate a little bit, and you're able to keep the. And then what we give you is we do an IDPA target, which is a circle and a circle in the head. And obviously we count points off as far as it goes if you miss. And it just kind of shows you how quickly stress brings you in. The Mozambique, you can work on center mass. You can work on the 3 shots. you can work on this helps your recoil management, and then you just increase your distance over and over and over until you actually get this thing down to a science. Those are things that you can put together that would give you more than just shooting at the range. That's why I recommend the paper plate. I recommend the paper plate so much because if you take a paper plate, put it on my chest or put it on your chest or put it on someone else's chest, it's about the same size as always. So one last one I give you is the emergency reload drill. This emergency reload drill is when it's called an oh shit drill, is when you're in a situation where you are got to a point where you are out of bullets, the gun goes to slide lock, you need to dump that magazine, put a new one in, rack the slide, and get back to it as quick as possible. And this can be done when you could set this up with the butt of your pal. You have up to 6 rounds can be in the magazine. You'll let him load both mags for you. And then what we'll end up doing is put one, maybe 3 in one and 2 in another, and let him get to a slide lock position to put that other one in there. It's kind of cool. And then you can physically do that same drill again, but give them six shots in the magazine. Only allow them to shoot 4. They fight themselves to a cover or a barricade of some kind. Remove that magazine. Stow that mag, so we know it has a couple rounds in it. The firearm still has the bullet in it because you have to go slide lock. Take the mag you stowed, put it back in the gun, fire your shots. When this gun goes to slide lock, take that mag that you changed out the very first time, stick that in the weapon, and finish off the last couple. A magazine with no rounds in it is worth absolutely nothing. A magazine with a couple rounds left in it could save your life. So putting a plan together for your own personal protection and for your family's protection is probably a good idea. I'd like to hear you comment, if you can, when you watch this, or you can, is what kind of plan do you have? I have people who come here that the wife or the significant other doesn't want anything to do with the firearm. They know they need it. They know they want it, but they don't want to touch it, don't want to see it, don't want to look at it, and they're deathly afraid of it. What kind of support is that going to be in a situation when you get into firing a gun inside your home? That's why we offer every time we sell a firearm to a guy or a girl. I've had them both ways. I've had women that come here and their husband doesn't want anything to do with it, doesn't want her to have one, is very uncomfortable. And I've had that same thing. And I always tell those guys, listen, I want to make sure that she or he knows how to load and unload that weapon. It is not fair or anything to bring a gun into the home and somebody doesn't know something about it. That's dangerous and it's not safe. It's like bringing a bag of rattlesnakes home. It's probably easy to bring them home. What you going to do with them? Can't feed them. Can't get them out of the bag. Can't pet them. It's the same thing. I mean, it's an exaggeration. I get it. But there's just this thing. People get too carried away with what a firearm is. What is a firearm? A firearm's a tool. Tool needs to be operated. Tool just needs a craftsman. Firearm's a spatula, for instance, right? Spatula in the kitchen. What's it doing in that jar over there? Can you ask it to make you eggs? Can you ask the firearm to shoot the bad guy? Can the firearm load itself, rack itself, pull the trigger, do anything? Nope. You got to do all that. So, tonight was a good night. It covered a lot of different stuff. I want to thank everybody who was on the call this evening. I want to wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This is our last live of 2024. I have been so humbled by how many people spend their Tuesday nights with me. I love you guys very much. I wish you the best, and I wish you better 2024. A better 2025 than a 2024. All right. Until next time, God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line defense. If you get an opportunity, guys, don't forget to hit the bell icon, the like, and the subscribe button. Those things help us tremendously grow on YouTube and any of the other social media accounts we have. If you'd like to support us a little bit more in our YouTube channel store, we have our ebooks that are on sale for the $1.99. And that is something that's going to be pretty easy for you guys to get. And those are tips and drills and things like that to help you become more proficient with a pistol. We do have our memberships that we have available right now through our YouTube channel, which is the $1.99, which helps you guys support our team to allow us to get those stuff. If you looked, this camera we got, I buy tripods all the time, thinking I'm going to get the right one. Jacob's got this I wish I could take a picture of this. Jacob's got this tripod hooked up on a box, and there's a plastic spoon making it level. We're so redneckish when it comes to this stuff, but obviously it's what you see is what you get. So until next time, hope Santa brings you everything you want and maybe not everything you need. All right. God bless you guys. Bye-bye.